13th Board of Police Commissioners meeting, and Mr. Caffarelli, Commissioner, will you take us to the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
I have a motion to approve the draft list for the meetings of July 12th, 2023, and the minutes of the special meeting for August 23rd, 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carried unanimously. We're going to move ahead with the traffic studies.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Survey, well, I only have one.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, there is just the one. Okay. Survey number 1, location, Reading Road, Hulls Highway Road to Mile Common. Nature of the request. The request is to install centerline rumble strips and edge line painting, fog lines, for the entire length of Reading Road, beginning from Hulls Farm Road to Mile Common. By whom? Captain Irizarry. And the recommendations is to discuss that at the meeting.
Captain, would you like to comment on it?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Commissioner, I have a road safety assessment report here. One of the comments made at the last commission meeting regarding this study, that you guys wanted a more comprehensive study, and I think we facilitated that.
Thank you, sir. You did take care of that, too.
I know, still wrong, sorry, bear with me. My bad voice.
Yeah.
So I invited Melissa Evans, who's with the T2 Center from UConn. She was instrumental in getting this report completed for us. We're looking to install centerline rumble strips stretching from Mile Common, Easton Town Line, all the way down to Hulls Farm Road. In addition, we want edge line painting to provide a traffic calming solution to slow traffic down. This is just part of phase 1, initial part of phase 1 on our Reading Road safety improvement. So I'd like to invite Melissa to speak because she has a voice and I don't. And she can present the information more accurately and answer your questions.
Thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Captain.
Hi,
Hi, Melissa.
as Hector said, Melissa Evans. I'm the safety circuit writer at the T2 Center at UConn.
Well, you're from Fairfield, are you not?
I'm not. I'm from Greenwich.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
That's still okay.
That's fine.
So, just so you all know, I met a few of you at a meeting about a week and a half ago. I was a traffic operations coordinator for the town of Greenwich for about 21 years before I became the safety circuit writer. So I basically do now what I did for the town of Greenwich, but I do it for the state. So one of the things that I do is provide free technical assistance to municipalities who need help with various traffic safety, roadway safety issues. One of the tech assists that we do are road safety assessments, which is the report that you have in front of you. So the team met on Reading Road. We had, the team names are in the report, but we had quite a good group out there. And we talked about the issues, we drove the road, we stood at an intersection, one of the key intersections, kind of watched the traffic, talked about what was going on. And again, you know, there's several recommendations in the report. For right now, the ones before you, the centerline rumble strip and the edge lines, they are in the report as a low-cost, short-term recommendation. Centerline rumble strips, I think you are familiar. I know that you have some in town already, but they are effective. I like to tell people, you know, the nice thing about centerline rumble strips is that you hopefully never hear them because, you know, unless you're going around a mail truck or an Amazon van or whatever, the goal is that people, as soon as they start to veer into the center of the road, they hear that, they get that tactile response, and they get back in their lane. Edge lines, you know, you have them again all over Fairfield. And those really are helpful, not just from a traffic calming standpoint, as far as narrowing the lane and giving drivers a visual feel that it's a little narrower, you want to slow down, but they're also great for days like today. They're great for dark conditions, bad weather conditions, just to identify the edge of the road. At some point, part of the recommendations state clearing of the shoulders and providing a place for people to walk. So the more we can do to keep people within those lines and not off to the side, the better, I think. Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Board have any questions? Yes, Kevin.
Melissa, thanks for being here. I appreciate it very much. Can you talk a little bit about the rumble strips? I know they have them on the highways and they have them on city roads. Are there different types, different definitions of them, or different, depth, or?
So there's really only two types. So there's rumbles and mumbles. I don't make the names up. Trust me, that's not. But so there are a little bit of a different application. So the mumble strips actually were created to try to lessen the sound a little bit. They're effective. They're both effective. I mean, they have the same, tactile response, sound response to the driver in the vehicle, so that they know that they've gone off out of their lane a little bit. Certainly, the report can state rumble/mumble if you'd like me to add that in there.
No,
it is
I'm just
a little,
curious.
It's a softer sound.
What the?
It may be something that the residents, if they do have to hear it when someone's going around a landscape vehicle or, a delivery vehicle.
Right.
It's such a short moment in time that you hear that, and you're not going to hear that at night because, landscape trucks won't be there, Amazon trucks, aren't there in the middle of the night.
Right.
But again, it is an option.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if they are in particular, most of the new cars have technology that helps you stay in your lane, supposedly,
sure.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Do the rumble strips, do they get picked up by that technology as a guidance, or is that
The technology picks up the pavement marking,
It does.
and so because the center line is there, the rumble strip itself would be part of the center line. The lane assist
Okay.
picks up the pavement marking itself.
So is that
So it
suffices for the same
would
thing?
hopefully, if vehicles have lane assist, they would be staying in their lane anyway. You hope, if they haven't turned it off, because you can turn it off. But, if you drive a 2009 Subaru like I do, you don't have lane assist, so you have to do it yourself.
Well, that's a good test of your driving skills, right? Thank you very much.
Sure, of course.
Are there any other questions? Jamie?
Captain Irizarry, we spoke on the phone about this the other day, but just for the record, the two families that were involved that had the fatal accidents on Reading Road, they've been consulted on this and they are in agreement that
Yes, both Dr. Fernandez and Mr. Ravis have both been contacted regarding this. And I do have to add to your packet stakeholder support, which includes those names as well, for this proposed item. We have approximately 46 petitioners that signed this proposal that are in agreement, and about 30 of those are in Reading Road alone.
Okay.
I'll provide that to you.
And Captain, for the record, it's my understanding, this is just the initial
Correct.
review.
Yes.
So just the initial attempt that we're trying to do to create a more safety procedure on.
Immediate reaction for phase one. There will be 2 additional phases and more stuff for phase 1 that we will seek to implement going forward.
So we'll stay on it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Melissa?
Yes.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Yes, sir.
With Reading Road being so narrow, how does that compare to Miles Common and Halls Highway, I believe? Is that the one? It's Halls Farm, is it? Yeah. How does that compare? Are the roads about the same width, or, because it seems so narrow on Reading Road? I'm just curious.
So, I guess it depends on your definition. I don't even think Reading is that narrow. There's certainly narrower roadways.
Mm-hmm.
It's wide enough to support pavement markings, and again, even even if the edge line is only a short distance off the shoulder, establishing that edge of travel lane is what's important. From a width perspective, I mean, the width varies. I know engineering has some measurements. I have a note in my draft report to get some more accurate measurements, but the width varies. Really on a road like that, though, I mean, my recommendation, the reason why it's in there as a consideration, is that you don't need anything wider than 9.5, 10-foot lanes at the most. I mean, we're trying to slow people down. We're trying to get people to drive the posted and established speed limit that's out there. The more pavement that they have, the faster they're going to go. So establishing a narrow lane, you know, again, gives them that visual perspective of, okay, this is what I have, this is what I can use.
And this may be being addressed in a different phase, but on the side of the road on Reading Road, there's like these little gullies where there's water. I noticed some crushed stone. Is that going to be addressed later on? I'm concerned about somebody driving off the road, you know, where somebody's walking and falling in those little gullies.
I'd invite engineering to speak on the engineering aspect of that.
Sure.
They're prepared to speak on that, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Well, just a matter, the vote is on the center line
Right,
rumble
but I just
and
want to
the
know if
fog
it's going to be
line.
addressed later on, that's all.
But aren't you coming forward later with
Yes, there'll be
further?
many more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and the answer question.
Yeah. Hey, just,
Yeah.
if I may,
Go ahead, please.
on the edge lines, typically, or at least on this road, how far from the edge of the pavement do they get painted? Is it 6 inches in? I'm just trying to understand.
So it varies. I mean, I think it will vary on Reading Road as well, because the width of the road varies.
Changes a lot, right?
So measurements will need to be taken to determine, so what you would do is you would actually start at the center of the road,
And
and then figure out your lane width,
Okay,
and then that's where you'd mark the edge line. And
okay.
it is going to vary because it varies in width from, 22, some places are 24, 25, so it will change. But, I mean, edge lines
Right.
can be striped right along a curb line, or they can be 6 inches off, or they can be
Right.
several feet, depending on the width that you have.
Right.
Obviously, they won't be several feet off
Right.
the curb, the
Right.
shoulder on
Right.
Reading Road, but they'll probably only be, in the wider sections,
Couple of feet, maybe.
6
Oh,
to 12 inches, depending.
okay.
And at the narrower sections, probably less than 6.
Yeah, that's helpful, because I was thinking of it from the outside in, what you just described, looking at the center line and going from the center out to a certain distance,
Right,
regardless,
establish your lane width, and then
regardless
mark your...
of what that leaves on
edge line.
the outer
Correct.
edge of the line.
Correct.
That's very helpful, thank you.
No problem.
So, you're talking about 10-foot lanes, if the road's 22 feet, and you're talking about a foot each side, right? Yeah.
Yes,
Give or take, yeah?
yes. I mean, again, it will be a little bit more,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
depends on the sections. The different sections,
Yeah.
even though it's all the same road, the different sections are very different. I mean, as you drive it, there's a different feel to the sections as you go.
May I ask, Mr. Hurley, a question, please? If this request is approved tonight, when will the improvements take place? How long will it take to put these to do effect?
Hi, I'm Bill Hurley, Fairfield Engineering Manager. If these were to be approved, now, again, I'm not sure exactly what you're approving. If you're approving Phase 1, okay, they should be implemented fairly quickly, or at least begun. Some of the, like, we have to hire a company to do the rumble strips, so we're dependent on their schedule.
And paving also, I guess,
And-
does paving.
Well, the edge striping, like even for tonight, if the company was gonna paint now with the rain, if the pavement doesn't dry, that pushes their schedule out. But overall, I would say these could be implemented probably within 1 to 2 months, maybe sooner if everything falls into play. While I'm up here though, I just want to, their engineering has no issues at all with Phase 1, all the improvements that are listed here. we would work with the police department on the establishment of school zones, because that is something that the state gets involved in as well, so it would have to be a collaborative effort, for that. But all the others are within the town and the DPW's efforts to do that. If you go into the mid or longer term implementation, I would just say that, and these are all good ideas that were discussed at our RSA, the road safety audit, but we just there's a couple of pieces that have to be done before we give like a final approval. And like, for instance, the roundabout, we just have to confirm that there's enough right-of-way there and that engineering-wise it can work, which I'm sure it could, but until it gets finalized, but certainly you could approve it like a conceptual, or you could, however you want.
Well, that's really not before us tonight, but I mean.
Oh, I didn't know if it was or not, so that's why, okay. And then just you guys certainly got the idea of with the 10-foot travelway, that would provide basically a 1 or 2 foot shoulder. In cases where it's a little bit wider pavement, then it would be a wider shoulder, but we're trying to keep the consistent travel lane. And then I would recommend, I guess, the rumbles are the ones that are more on the highway, those or the mumble, how do you?
It really depends. I mean, the Connecticut DOT only uses rumble strips.
Okay.
So everywhere, state roads, center lines are all rumble strips.
Yeah. What I would recommend on that, though, is the ones that are spaced a little bit farther apart and not as deep, where it relies on vibration rather than sound. That's what I would recommend, but you guys.
So, east of Black Rock Turnpike, you have Congress Street, which has
Mhm.
rumble strips. What type of rumble strips are those?
I believe those are the ones that I'm talking about, yes. Mhm.
Any other questions, Jamie?
I don't have a question, but I just, statement is that, I'm in support of this. We did this in Sheldon, and we had several crossover accidents on Route 110 and Bridgeport Avenue, and in the 2 years since those have been put in, we haven't had a single crossover accident. They alert people who are drowsy, even impaired drivers respond to them, and obviously, the big thing, distracted drivers immediately, And I'm sure you've all hit them on the highway occasionally, but, or going around construction or something, but, so I think this is a great first step, and,
Are there any more comments from the board?
I have a couple
Yes,
of quick
Kevin.
ones. Without being repetitive, I agree with Commissioner Millington on the need to do this and what we're doing. And thank you for all the effort from everyone involved that put this together.
Yeah, I agree.
Bill, you did mention one thing that caught my eye, or caught my ear. You mentioned school and state getting involved. Is that down the road for other potential things, or could the state, because it's a school zone, get involved in the striping and the rumble strips that we're talking about tonight, and possibly put time into that timeline?
No, it was just the state, and Melissa probably has a little bit better knowledge on that than I do. But my understanding is with the school zone, you have to work with OSTA, right? OSTA, yeah.
Even for the rumbles and the painting?
No,
Okay,
just
that
for the
was my question.
establishment of the school
Right.
zone. All these other things, whether they occur at the school or regular, they're all part of Reading Road, and that would be certainly within the purview of
Of
the
us,
commission and the DPW forces and contractors.
All right, so these two items that we're talking about tonight are not subject to delay because of any state whatever?
That's correct.
Okay. That was
Correct.
That's the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public?
Commissioner, I have the stakeholder support. Would you like that for the record?
Yes, let's put that into the record.
I apologize, I don't have enough
Oh, no,
copies for everyone.
No, that's fine,
That's okay.
but we should make this part of the record.
Yeah.
This is the supporters of Reading Road Initial Safety Solutions by Lieutenant Arizay, Captain Arizay now. So we should make this part of the record. And how many, we've got 70,
I believe we have close to 50 total on that
Okay.
sheet, with
Okay.
30 plus being from Reading Road alone.
thank you so much.
Awesome.
Mr. Chairman,
sir.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you.
Happy to help.
See you soon.
That's the thing.
All
Nice to meet you. All right.
Thanks, everyone. It was a team effort. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good. Thank you, Kevin.
Oh,
Thank
you ready?
Yes, ready.
Okay, new business, recognition of donations made to the animal shelter. The first one is a $75 check, number 1476, from Donna Persley, 24 Marjorie Drive, North Branford, in celebration of Avery Wilson's birthday. Number two is a $100 check, number 151, from Catherine Sirico, 47 Woodside Ave, Westport, for a Lantern Point Association fundraiser for the Fairfield Shelter. Number three is the $310 check, number 9845, from Jeffrey and Victoria Donito, 68 Van Rensselaer Avenue, Stratford, for a Lantern Point Association fundraiser for the animal shelter. And number four is a $40 check, number 2184, from L.A. Cochran and K.M. Cochran, 1101 Southwest 145th Street, Ocala, Florida, from the Lantern Point Association fundraiser for the animal shelter. A $50 check, number 176, from Claire Lammerts, 285 Fairview Avenue, Fairfield, for a Lantern Point fundraiser for the animal shelter.
And I move that unless anyone has an objection on the commission, we take these as a unit, all five of them, and vote on them. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. The next item under, do you want me to read it, or do you want to?
Please.
Okay. The next item is an after-action report for the Labor Day White Party.
On September 4, 2023, the Fairfield University students held their White Party, which is an unsanctioned event informally organized by the Fairfield University student body. The event is connected with Labor Day and Move-In Day at Lantern Point. The Seagrape Cafe hosted the event starting at 2100 hours, and Fairfield Police Department working hours for the event went from 1900 hours until 0100 hours on September 5th. Police Department staffing, we had Red 1, Red 2, Red 3, Red 5, an event commander, 1 bike patrol, and 1 officer hired on an outside job by Fairfield University that were all assigned to the Seagrape Cafe, Lantern Point, and the Burke Court areas. Lantern Point had G4 security working. They hired 4 guards. Calls for service, for the most part, were uneventful. We had 1 noise complaint that was determined to be reasonable, 1 vandalism/public urination, and that is under investigation pending identification from video footage. And we had 2 AMR transports for intoxication. In conclusion, several hundred students attended the White Party. However, it remained orderly and mostly uneventful for the duration. We only received 1 noise complaint in regards, and a total of 4 calls for service. There were multiple noise complaints received concerning a house party at 494 Lally Boulevard. However, this was unrelated to the White Party event. No arrests, no enforcement action taken for this.
Thank you.
Thank you. You said it started at 9 o'clock at night?
Yeah, well, move-in day and the pre-festivities started a little bit earlier in the day, but officially the Seagrape said, we're hosting this starting at 9 o'clock at night.
I was in bed.
So was that probably.
I never got an invitation. Oh,
Your kids aren't that old yet.
Oh, jeez.
next matter on the agenda
Is a safe and livable street proposal.
So
An update.
just to give a quick briefing, we met with Bill Gerber and Bill Pollock, and Chairman Pine was there as well yesterday with Lieutenant Mike Parris. I'm sorry. Chairman was there. Also, Lieutenant Parris and Captain Irizarry were there as well. Yesterday we met just for a quick overview to look at their proposal, and what we found was there are a lot of parallels in the process that we do now. I should add that Bill Hurley and Meg Jane were also there for the meeting, so it was in conjunction with police, engineering, and Bill Gerber and Bill Pollock. A lot of the
things that are proposed in the proposal, we are currently doing police engineering. And I think it was a good opportunity to collaborate and say, here's what we have. I made them aware that the police commission was the local traffic authority and the regulatory authority on sign signals and markings pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 14297. I don't think they were aware of that at the time, and I think the changes that we proposed were accepted and understood by them. I think they were proposing a new commission. The suggestion was that an extra commission and another layer of kind of bureaucracy would just create more red tape. They were happy to hear that there's already a commission in place for that purpose. That's pretty much it. There was, Commissioner, can you share any other feedback?
No, I did think that we indicated that we would be open to further meetings or commentary on it. But I think both the captain Irizarry, and the chief, and Bill Hurley were very good in addressing certain issues that Gerber arose, and I think, just based upon what was there, I think we made a very good case of what we're doing now to really present a first-class safety measure. And I think the overlay of this ordinance, I think, it just adds additional regulatory material to what we're doing. And I'm not sure it's all I'm sure it's not necessary. And perhaps there's certain aspects of it that we can take into consideration and should take into consideration, but I think there'll be further discussions on it.
Mr.
Yes.
Well, I'd just like to say, I've listened to the RTM L&A committee hearing on this, and I was very shocked at what I heard. Bill Gerber presented this ordinance, and, there's been so much to say by all the politicians in town about we need more transparency, we need more inclusion, we need this and that. And he presented this ordinance that he's been working on for a year and stated that he did not talk to the First Selectman's office. He did not send this to review by the town attorney, which is required before it goes to L&A. He did not consult the engineering department, which he was very critical of. He did not consult the police department, and he did not consult the police commission. He didn't even know that we were the legal traffic authority. And when asked why he didn't do that, he said because this was a grassroots operation, and that if he consulted with these departments, that they would just be defensive on why they hadn't acted sooner or in a faster way. And some things that I think I need to just put on the record that were brought up there that I think are sort of misleading were the fact that as far as the engineering department goes, there was a claim that the engineering department is maybe understaffed or overwhelmed with other responsibilities. But in the years that I've been on this, anytime we have had a traffic issue or concern, and we went to Bill Hurley in the engineering department about it, they never once said no or were too busy to deal with it. They immediately dealt with it in a timely and very thorough manner and reported right back to us, unless somebody else recalls anything otherwise. So I think it was unfair to say that they were not responsive to the traffic studies. And then there was other statements made that by Mr. Gerber that as far as the delays in some of the projects that we've had working with state roads, such as the Shoreham Village Drive area with the crosswalk where we had a fatal pedestrian accident. The Mill Plain Road, by I-95 was also brought up. And it was, Mr. Gerber made the claim that he talked to an attorney in another town, and those should, once sent by us or the engineering department to the state, should only take 2 to 3 weeks to get approval. And based on my experience here and the years that we've done it, that is not an accurate statement, and I would love to see a project that was referred to the state DOT by any town that got an approval in 2 to 3 weeks. Because we know from dealing with the state DOT, and we can't do anything without their approval, consent, and most of the time them doing their work. I mean, it took us forever to get those fog stripes on the Post Road in Southport. So, I mean, I think that it's unfair to say that it was a deficiency of the department getting to the DOT or engineering where things are sent right away and it's beyond our control. Stuff that we have local control over has been getting approved a lot faster. There was also comments about petitions to this commission being denied for things like stop signs, and I think Mill Plain Road was mentioned during that meeting. And, I think it just needs to be noted that on the time that I've been on this commission, and we have denied stop signs and stuff like that, but it's all based on the WUTCD regulations and guidelines that we must adhere to. So a stop sign proposed to slow the speed of traffic does not fall within those guidelines, and when we're advised about that, how are we going to override those guidelines and say, no, we're going to put that in, and then put any funding that we get at risk for not adhering to these guidelines? So I think whoever was with Mr. Gerber putting this together, if they had just come to the police department, the police commission, the engineering department before the ordinance was done and before the LNA committee meeting, they would have known all of this. And it would have made that a lot easier to do this. I mean, the commission they're proposing is basically a lateral commission doing the exact same thing the police commission is charged with by statute to do. So, I mean, I was really saddened to hear that, and specifically the criticism, because all of us are working together for the same thing, whether it's the pedestrian bike committee. All of us, at the end of the day, our goal is to provide the safest possible roadways for cars and pedestrians in Fairfield that we can. But when people develop ordinances like this, they need to do their homework, and they need to know why we decided against things in the past, and the rules in which we have to operate within. So I'm hoping that they will. I know that since that LNA committee, when that was brought up, that they subsequently now have had a couple of meetings, and it is my hope that, moving forward, I doubt this ordinance is going anywhere because they have one RTM meeting before the term expires, and all ordinances that aren't approved will die at the time of the term ends. But I just hope that going forward that things, especially when they involve the police department and stuff like this, when people are heavily critical, that they do their research and they do reach out to all of us, because working together, we can accomplish a lot in a lot more efficient manner than we do when something like this happens and it creates conflict within a government that should be all working together.
Well, thank you for your comments, Commissioner Billington. I did contact Jim Baldwin today, the town council, and he stated to me that he never received a copy of the proposed ordinance and did not have time to review it or to comment on it, and I think that SOP, she should have received that and had a time to review, because I think it's within his purview to do that. So he wasn't pleased either with not having received it. Any other comments from the board?
If I could just share one other comment, that we were able to share some, especially Bill Hurley, share some anecdotal experiences that we do share as the commission and the police department, that of Mill Plain Road, that of Villa Avenue, and there was discussion on the miles of, new sidewalks that have been implemented and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been invested in those sidewalks. And also that you can engineer the roads to only a certain extent before driver behavior is probably one of the most important things, and we can't engineer driver behavior. So those were the other challenges that we face as a police department and you face as a commission when it comes to making decisions on whether to implement certain safety strategies in a roadway. Driver behavior sometimes is one of the strategies that we, enforcement or education are the only two parts or components that we can tackle when it comes to that. So we shared all those challenges with them, and I thought overall it was a good dialogue.
Well, hopefully this will be like a learning experience for future RTM going forward, to just involve all the stakeholders, just listen, whether you want to hear what they're going to say or not, just hear them out, because you're always going to learn things. Because there's things that the engineering department does that I don't know what they're doing, and there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this room where a lot of the public doesn't attend or even listen into us. So, but then you hear from somebody who is upset that the petition was voted down, and that's all you hear. So
I'm wondering if there's any protocol, like when we were on the RTM, before it was presented, it went to the town attorney and then to LNA.
I think it's a written requirement.
Right, so
By charter, I think.
yeah, right, so shouldn't, this didn't go to our town attorney, and it went to LNA, like, but it shouldn't have gone that far.
Yeah, it shouldn't have.
they should advise on what to do. Maybe there should be some kind of guidelines. Same thing with noise ordinance.
Well, I think
bring that up. I know, not to bring that one up, but.
I think the minority and majority leaders are supposed to be looking this stuff over and making sure things go through the right channels. So I don't know what happened there, but.
Any other comments? Very well.
All right, next is a personnel status update, a review of the org chart.
You were provided an org chart. I know it's a little small. I can supply you a magnifying glass with it, but it's like our divisions are growing.
One page, right?
Well, I just wanted to kind of point out what we did with some of the positions. Captain Esposito, since being promoted to captain, went over to the FCRD to manage that. And Captain Irizarry was moved into Special Services Captain, and Captain Pete Coble moved over to Field Services, which oversees the Patrol Division and the Field Services Bureau. We also moved a couple of things around. The School Safety Unit went back under Special Services, and our Fleet Management went back under Special Services, which falls under Hector. And we just made a couple of these moves because at the time, Pete was managing Special Services and the FCRD, and that was a big lift, especially bringing Westport on and bringing them into the fold with new employees and hiring. From a personnel update, we have 111 officers currently hired. 3 of which are in the academy, and all the officers that we have on the road are on the road and at full training. I am happy to announce that tomorrow morning, the command staff and other members of our training unit will be going up to the Post Council to receive our Tier 1 accreditation, which is a huge undertaking that I'll recognize Mike Stahl, Felix Esposito, Ray Quilez, Nicole Gerosa, who else they fall under, Captain Tony Granada, and through their collaborative effort for well over a year and a half, we were able to complete our Tier 1 accreditation. It is early. We're going to try to get our Tier 2 accreditation, and by 2026, we have to have Tier 3, but I think we're going to be able to do that by 2025. Just a little bit about accreditation. It basically validates that the policies that we have implemented, we are practicing on the road. And when those validations are recognized, we get audited, and our policies have to reflect what we are actually doing. So it's like a checks and balances. You could have all the policies in the world, but if you're not following them, then they're just for naught. So the Post Council audits us to ensure that we are not only, our policies are up to date, but they are also audited in a sense that we have to provide proofs that we are acting in policy with our policy procedure.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a Sacred Heart University assignment update.
Just quick brief on that. That will be going before the Board of Selectmen shortly we are in a memorandum of understanding. There's no real binding obligation. We have had the position there for a couple of months. It's been so far very successful, and we're basically entering into an MOU where they're going to provide us with funding to support that position.
Good.
It's been through the town attorney and the finance department, and shortly we'll be going before the Board of Selectmen for that memorandum.
They report to the police, they report to Sacred Heart.
They report to us, and that's all in the memorandum. I can share that with you. I'll share that with you at the conclusion of this.
Good.
And lastly, noise ordinance and variances approval process update.
So this, I just want to make the commission aware that all our officers have been trained through our computer software program. So we put together a training brief signed off by the command staff based on the new noise ordinance. That goes to every officer where they digitally have to read it and sign off on it. That has been implemented since the new noise ordinance has been drafted and approved through the RTM. We also implemented a variance approval process through our website, where if there is if someone was having a party, there's a criteria, I believe it's 78-9 under the new variance, that if you are having a party and you want to submit a variance, you can do so through the police chief's office. So we put a form online that you click on it, fill out your form. My goal is to bring those variants before the commission and have them signed off by you as a commission before I give the signature on it. It provides a little bit of oversight over how we're implementing it. In most cases, like for example, we have one. Actually, they're not, the fireworks are not, they are not putting one in. We do. We have one currently, the President's Ball for Fairfield University. Even though that falls under the exceptions as a public event, it's still, they decided to fill out a variance form in the event that there's some questions or complaints to the noise ordinance, and I would ask that the commission reviews that and approves it as they come in. So I could either do that just for the chair, or if you want me to bring that before the board.
Just quickly on that,
Sure.
like on the process and the timeline. So if I'm having a big party, right, and I know it's whenever, a couple weeks out, and I fill out the form and the form gets submitted to the police department, what if we don't have a meeting for a couple, 3 weeks, or there isn't time for us to get involved in the approval process? Does it still get approved by the police department, or what happens in that case, so we don't have a log jam?
So that's a great question. There's a 20-day, it's kind of a circle, the way it's stated in the noise ordinance. It says that there's a 20-day requirement that you have to submit the variance for the noise ordinance, but then it says if the variance is not approved by the chief, it is considered approved if it doesn't get signed off on.
If it doesn't get signed off.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
What?
it defaults to an approval.
It defaults to an approval if it's, now, you know, I think it's important that, at least if I have it before the 20 days, which my goal is if we get a call from someone or we know, probably more likely than not, Parks and Recreation are gonna have some, times where they have, venues that get complaints for noise and their, people who are renting out those venues are gonna file for a noise variance. In the event that I get that noise variance prior to the 20 days, I'm gonna do my best to at least present it before the police commission. If I can't, then I will present it before the commission chair, or maybe, you know, something to that effect, just to get a second opinion on the request.
Well, Chief, could we like, because, I mean, I don't think we need like, you know, Bob and Sue are having their fifth grade, you know, class party in their backyard. I don't think that, like, we necessarily need to, like, discuss that, you know? I think that's something you could probably just approve. But maybe just the bigger events come on, like the ones that may cause some controversy or there may be a lot of complaints over, and we discuss those. But I think, like, you know, I mean, I don't know if everybody
I don't
agrees,
think
but
you
I
can
think
pick
it's
and
a lot
choose.
of, huh?
I don't think you can pick and choose. I mean.
So it's the chief's approval.
Yeah.
So that, in the variance, it says that the approval of the chief. I mean, not only in the variance, but in the ordinance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to your point, I mean, in big events such as the President's Ball, you know, if Fairfield University is seeking a variance and the variance is being sought prior to the 20 days, and we're having a meeting like tonight,
Yeah.
it all fits nicely. So I would give the opportunity to the commission to say, yes, that's a big event. It's surrounded by a residential community. If you opt to weigh in on that variance, I would give you the option to do that.
Do you feel comfortable making the decision without approval?
President's Ball has been going on for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you should feel comfortable in making the decision.
I think that,
without our approval.
not only do we provide staffing at the President's Ball, but, we also would field any calls for service related to it. And we also have some authority with respect to, you know, any DJs or bands playing where we could say like, hey, turn it down, you know, it's past a certain time frame. And
What's the attendance where you have to hire a police officer? How many people do you, what's the cutoff for hiring a police officer?
there is no cutoff. There's a statute that requires all special events and sporting matches and events, at the discretion of the chief of police. They're required, we make the determination on how many officers are required for that individual event.
But there was a attendance thing.
Wasn't it on the RTM ordinance a while ago? If you had a party, 50 or more, was it?
Oh, that failed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did fail.
Yeah, there,
That was with a certain amount of alcohol, I think.
Like over 125?
Yeah, there's a state statute that reinforces that,
yeah.
Is there a fee for this when it's filed?
there's no fee. No.
So, a lot of questions from the public. What do you do if you have 10 people over, 15 people over, 20 people over? You're having a party in your backyard. You have a little fire pit, little grill going, it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. I mean, what should people do? They're asking me, I don't.
Yeah, I mean-
Your relevance is pretty loud.
I know they are. Well,
Final area.
Brenda, no.
So, I mean, my suggestion is if you're planning a party, just do what any civility, you know, go talk to your neighbors and let them know that you're having a
Well,
party.
they all do the same, so I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe invite them.
yeah,
Well, that's
invite
what
your
I do.
neighbors.
That's right.
Do it the old-fashioned way, turn off the lights when the cops arrive.
Turn off the music.
Right, I know, my brother's coming in from Arizona, and our family, they all come over, you never know, it's for 5 or 10 people, and then 20, 25 shows up, and Like
It's
Jamie
still
said,
also up to officers' discretion at the end of the day on whether they're gonna take
Yeah,
enforcement.
I mean, today we had a supervisors meeting, the noise ordinance came up, it was brought up as a topic of discussion amongst the supervisors to discuss not only the, exceptions to the noise ordinance and how the officers should respond when they, or should they, be required to enforce, and, you know, the topic of discussion was, it's preferred that we use the state statute. It's easier, more easy enforced for us, and also easier to issue an infraction through our online portal as opposed to handwriting a ticket.
And if I'm not mistaken, well, from what I recall in the past, I mean, a lot of times you get called to a party and the police go out and they advise the people of the noise ordinance and ask them to comply, and what would you say, like 95% of the time they do, because they were either not aware that they were annoying their neighbor or, you know, what have you. So I don't see that probably changing. I mean, you probably could.
Yeah, that's not
Opportunity
gonna
to
change.
comply.
Yeah, in fact, in the noise ordinance, it states that the officer, will issue a warning on the first try. Now, I also told the officers, you know, if you go there and the noise is egregious, well, and you feel that action should be taken immediately, then take action immediately. They have that discretion. So the discretion works on both sides of the coin. If the officer feels that the noise is unreasonable and the party's out of control, they can take action on the first offense, or the first try, first call for service.
But they don't have to.
No,
But they don't
within
have
their discretion.
Yeah.
Important. Yep.
Oh, so just back to the variance thing, so it's at your discretion, depending on what the item is, how it falls in the schedule of our meetings. Some you'll bring to us that are material, and some you won't.
That's correct.
Okay, good enough for me.
And just for another for a matter of record, there were some rumors in the public, politically moving around, that the police department said they're not going to enforce the ordinance, and I just want to ask you to confirm that no member of the command staff has made any statements like that.
No, sir.
All right,
No, sir.
let's clear that up.
Yeah, there has never been that statement made. I never made that statement at any meeting. And, you know, we enforce the laws based on probable cause.
Very good.
And I'll stop
Thank
right
you.
there.
Thank you. We can go on to monthly reports now.
Yes. So we have two, both July and August. And do we have any questions on either?
You know, I'd just like to hear like outstanding
Yeah,
cases. I don't really have to go through all
yeah,
that.
anything outstanding?
The last couple of months that we should be aware of.
Yeah, so one of the, for, August, if you saw some of our social media posts, specifically, getting back into school, we had, excuse me one second, I'm just pulling up for, I think we did one post per week. We also had our SROs go up to WFSD, and the Connecticut Chiefs of Police did an overall school resource officer kind of back-to-school message, which was not only all over the state, but those little screens that you have at, 150 gas stations or something like that. There was a big push for back-to-school safety. So we did our own social media platform for community outreach for back to school. We put the bus up at the traffic circle. So in July, we also, the Marine unit received a nice letter from the Southport Harbor Master, thank you. The Harbor Master for the annual training and safety day down at the Pequot Yacht Club. They go to all their sailors out there, and we do the Marine unit, and in conjunction with the fire department and AMR, we do a big do a big rescue training program for those that are down there and working on the docks. And that was a really, they wrote a really great letter for our officers that assisted with that.
There's also something that hasn't that.
Oh,
Fairfield,
that's gonna be in next month.
Oh,
meeting.
sorry. All right.
Getting
Withdraw, I was gonna do that. I withdraw that.
Yeah, that was a big training exercise with the fire department, but we'll talk about that it'll be in next
Pictures
month.
included, I
Yeah.
found it.
I noticed in Bridgeport, a lot of activity in the evening, people get shot and killed. And I noticed it's coming closer and closer to our border, I think it was, Carlson Street, which is right off of North Avenue. And I heard rumors from that area down there, because I work down there, about gang related. Are we, I don't know if you're on, are we aware of all this stuff? And
Yes,
I'm
we have.
sure we are, shouldn't have.
We have members on, two of the task forces in Bridgeport, one being the Violent Crimes Task Force,
Yeah.
with the state police, and then another one in the, statewide regional auto theft task force.
Mhm.
But they don't just do auto theft, because with auto theft comes, they steal the cars to do, more serious crimes, more serious gang-related crimes. And most of the shootings that are occurring are retaliatory gang crimes.
Just one
Yeah,
quick
Kevin,
one.
please.
It's good that I have two reports here. There seems to be July was higher than August in almost every category by 5, 10, 15%. Is there any correlation there? Is July typically a busier month for citations and tickets and arrests? But everything seems to be proportionally lower in August, higher in July.
A lot of visitors, you have a lot of people still home, a lot of families here in the summer, there's a lot of transit, a lot of traffic.
More people go away in
Just-
August.
Yeah, okay.
I would say our calls for service are down historically in the month of August as opposed to July.
Vacations and
Yeah.
And I
stuff.
can provide the stats on the calls for service too.
I'm just curious. I just happened to notice the two, yeah. That's good.
Any other questions? Inquiries? None? The next meeting is October 11th at 4:30 PM, same place.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do a second.
Aye.
I'm out that way. Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, thank you.